Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. The city of Whitehorse is in mourning. A girl is dead after a crash Saturday night between an electric kick scooter and an SUV. The collision sent another girl to the hospital in Vancouver. Alexa Mackay reports.
Behind me, the memorial of flowers, stuffed animals, and toys are reminders of the girl who died in the collision. Yukon RCMP say they responded to the crash in the area just after 7 p.m. on Saturday. Emergency medical services and the Whitehorse Fire Department also attended the scene. One girl who was on the scooter was later confirmed dead. Another was medically evacuated for further treatment. A neighbor says a crowd gathered to help and comfort the victims after the collision. The RCMP say there's no evidence of a criminal offense. Online crowdfunding efforts for the victims' families have raised over $80,000 so far. Alexa Mackay, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The safety of taxi passengers has been a big concern in Iqaluit recently. A community meeting is in the works to discuss a women's-only service in the city. But taxi drivers say they need to be protected too. The CBC's Mahnur Mubarak has more.
I just wish I didn't have to be scared in my own skin.
In a city with few options for getting around, Iqaluit depend on taxis, but some say the ride does not always feel safe. Rosalie DeMaio says she's been hit on, stared at, and followed by cab drivers.
And I'll just be sitting there and I'll hear, "Hey baby girl, how are you?" and just really creepy stuff like that.
That's why DeMaio is working on creating a women's only transportation service. What exactly that would look like is still being worked out. She's setting up a community get-together for Iqaluit to share their thoughts on what it should include.
Hopefully help me with building an app or like a Facebook group.
But from the driver's seat, some cabbies say they too are in need of improvements while doing their job. Patrick Fona is a driver with Nunavut Taxi. He says there are some times where driving for a living can be dangerous.
People throwing stones, not only children, there are some drunk people also that usually throw stones and break windshield for the taxi drivers. We don't know the reason why.
Another taxi company, Caribou Cabs, spoke to City Council last week. They are urging changes like standardized driver training for all taxi companies in Iqaluit and mandatory upfront payment before a ride starts. They argue it will help with safety for drivers and passengers. The city of Iqaluit says those ideas will be taken into consideration as part of any future review of their vehicle for hire bylaw. Mahnur Mubarak, CBC News, Iqaluit.
A repeat sexual offender in Nunavut was sentenced to just under 3 years in prison today. The accused has been in jail before and was declared a dangerous offender in 2014. Artie Sarkissian reports, but first a warning, this story contains disturbing details.
A judge handed Simeoni Isigaitok his sentence on Tuesday morning, his fifth for sex crimes in 4 decades. This time, the 73-year-old man will spend 2 years and 9 months in jail for sexual interference. He was arrested in 2025, accused of abusing 2 children in separate incidents in Senirayak. First one happened in late 1980s. Isigaitok snuck into a house and abused an underage girl while her parents were in a different room. And in 2025, he was caught on camera touching a young boy at the community hall. Isigaitok pled guilty to both acts. Over the past 4 decades, he spent 16 years in jail for 27 convictions. His latest sentence fell short of the 10 years sought by the Crown, but the judge found Isigaitok's failing health will deter him from future crimes. Artie Sarkissian, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Residents of Joehaven, Nunavut can safely drink their water again. Nunavut's Department of Health has lifted the hamlet's boil water advisory after nearly 8 months. The advisory came in January after a break was found in the community's water main. And while that was fixed over a month ago, tanks at the community's water treatment plant needed cleaning, causing another delay. The hamlet's mayor says he's happy things are back to normal.
And the people that I have spoken to, they're happy that, it has been lifted and going back to normal water deliveries and drinking water. Everybody's happy about that, the people that I've heard from.
Cooksoon Sr. says water deliveries will now be faster as water trucks can fill up at the treatment plant instead of going to a nearby lake. At northern latitudes, the climate is changing 4 times faster than the global average. In the Yukon, it's causing vegetation to increase in some areas. The CBC's Victor Elias tells us how that can have a negative impact on wildlife.
A fence lines a garden in Silver City near the Kluane Lake Research Station as trail cams track plant growth. A changing climate is changing the types of plants that grow in this region.
This is the common garden, and we can go on inside.
Researchers here look at shrubs and how they grow in a more southern climate.
So this little guy came from Herschel Island, 1,000 kilometers to the north of here, and in its natural environment it probably grew about this tall. And you can notice that it's shorter than in where it came from. And the reason for that probably, and you can see it's starting to turn brown already, we've discovered by bringing the willows all together like this that they have quite a strong adaptation to the length of the day. And the days are shorter here than they would be on Herschel Island at this time. So
She is looking at Yukon wildlife, like sheep, and how they are adapting to changes to our climate.
Yeah, so there's populations of Dall sheep around this region, and they're a really important resource for Kluane First Nation and Champagne-Ajac First Nation. And there's been concerns that some of those populations might be declining. We're trying to get at the vegetation habitat change question. And
if you're a sheep, you're potentially a lot more nervous because you can't actually see what's around you.
Myers Smith's PhD student for the summer, Simon Coates, is assisting her in her work.
Could imagine if you're a sheep, you've suddenly only got this to eat rather than potentially nice juicy things that weren't here before.
He's looking at the influence of shrubification on the eating habits of the sheep.
If you kind of think of what looks kind of nutritious and salady on the ground, they tend to go for those things.
He says as shrubs move further into the alpine, sheep are having more trouble avoiding predators.
So they rely on open areas where they can detect predators at a distance and quickly move to safe, we call it escape terrain. It's like cliff areas and rocky scree areas where they're able to evade predators. And it also, as the shrubs grow, it makes it harder for them to move around the landscape.
this is an alpine one, and
This is the mid-season part of Myers Smith's research. She expects to get more back by September. Dr. Isla Myers-Smith is excited to see how her studies on shrubs in the alpine region pan out, and for her PhD student, Simon, to follow in her footsteps. Victor Elias, CBC News, Kluane Lake.
It's been a brutal summer for much of Europe, especially France. Officials there have now confirmed that July was the hottest month ever recorded. And the still ongoing heat is contributing to a number of crises in the country and beyond. Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
Well, it's another day of punishing heat here in France. Heatwave warnings across large parts of the country, and it has just been a summer that's been characterized by wave after wave of extreme high temperatures, starting in May through June and July and now to August. So no surprise that France has registered its hottest month since 1900. We have seen these really bad drought conditions across so much of the country, a devastating impact on crops, particularly now coming through the end of the summer towards harvest time, perhaps the worst time of year to have such a bad impact on agricultural output. Also, the huge wildfires that we've seen across large parts of southwestern France in the past couple of weeks, showing just how bad a summer it's been for the heat. Not just here in France, but expanding out across other European countries. England and Wales have seen their driest month ever, and the water levels in the River Danube, which passes through 10 European countries, are so low that long preserved mammoth skeletons, which have been preserved in the mud for thousands of years, they have now come to light. They are visible because the water is so low. Ross Cullen for CBC News, Paris.
WestJet is flying again after a short strike by flight attendants over the weekend. But while the airline and union have reached a tentative agreement, some passengers are still scrambling. Jennifer Yoon has that story.
Some WestJet passengers feeling sweet relief after days of anxiety.
We're just happy to be taking off the ground at the Strait.
I'm really relieved. My daughter's having a baby in a couple of weeks, so I don't want to miss it.
More than 24 hours after this flight attendant strike ended, things are slowly going back to normal for WestJet. Tuesday morning, only 16 flights were cancelled, a clear improvement after more than 900 were cancelled between August 1st and 3rd. But many passengers are still stranded with no word from WestJet.
They've given us nothing in regards to accommodations, meal vouchers. Like, there's just zero communication with them. So we're just like literally left on our own.
I'm missing work. I've been missing work for 4 days now, and I need to get back to work as soon as possible, and they're not going to pay for my wages.
It's unclear how long it will take to get to their destination, say experts.
The planes are full, and they're trying to accommodate them, but there's no place to accommodate them on existing flights.
Also unclear, the details of the tentative agreement that ended the work disruption.
The contract tentative agreement is for the members to decide, not the general public. And so they want the discussion about the tentative agreement to be amongst the members themselves.
Now it's up to the flight attendants to decide what happens next. They'll vote on the deal in the next 30 days. A no vote could put passengers back in limbo.
There have been several instances in recent years where workers have rejected contracts that have been recommended to them by their negotiating committees. So it's including the Air Canada flight attendants last year.
WestJet says it's working to restore its network and is asking for patience. The airline reminding all passengers to check the status of their flight before heading to the airport. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
As WestJet flights slowly return to normal, passengers traveling on a WestJet flight from Calgary to Yellowknife say they're relieved to arrive today without any issues. Take a listen.
You know, I went to the airport really early because I thought it was going to be chaos at the Calgary airport, considering it's the first day after the strike, but everything was smooth sailing, and we had all sorts of oversized luggage and no delays or anything, and it was very pleasant.
WestJet sent out the email on, I believe it was the 30th, saying, hey, we might strike, and my flight back to Calgary was on the 30th, so we just moved it a day, flew back, no issues. Was able to get back, 4 or 5 days later, no problems.
Were you worried at all? I know some people kind of anticipated, we might have issues.
I was super worried. So I was going back to Calgary for my brother's wedding, so I was terrified that I was going to miss it, so we ended up just rebooking for the day before.
In Yellowknife, a mystery is unfolding involving a missing treasure. 25 years ago, high school students from Sir John Franklin sealed a time capsule meant to be opened this year. But there's a problem. It's vanished. The CBC's Jessica Davy-Quantick looks at the curious case of the missing time capsule.
25 years ago, the graduating class of 2001 carefully sealed a time capsule to be dug up this year. It was supposed to be under a spiral staircase in an enclave built especially for it. But when the assistant principal stuck his head in the hole, he found nothing but dust.
When I pulled back the cover, I saw a very, very, very well constructed, there was even like finishing lumber down there, a very well constructed cavity designed specifically and exclusively for a time capsule, but there was no time capsule.
Curran knew there was only one person with the specific skills and tools to hunt down the elusive Tupperware tub. Former grad president turned treasure hunter Adrian Cartwright, armed not with a fedora and a whip, but a phone directory and small-town knowledge.
Once we discovered the time capsule wasn't there, I just started contacting everyone I could think of who might have worked at the school or been involved in the time capsule. I contacted some of my fellow grad council members who are still around, former school employees, and just to see if anyone remembered anything. And nobody actually remembers it going in the floor. Last it was seen was in the Sir John office at the beginning of the summer.
After that, the trail went cold.
There were sightings, there was talk, there was some confirmation that it existed, but again, it was a little bit like like Pokeroo from the polka dot door, if you remember. Someone had always just seen it, but they couldn't identify where it was right now.
There is one clue, though, not to its whereabouts, but possibly a reason for its disappearance. A collection of letters written by students to their future selves.
Part of me is glad it's gone because I don't have to read that letter. Like, it was pretty, I think it's pretty cringy. Part of me is a little concerned that this letter is out there somewhere, possibly in someone's hands, you know?
Matheson was dubbed class prophet, charged with predicting the futures of his classmates. Alas, he didn't see the capsule's disappearance coming. But did someone else? Could one of those letters contain information so scandalous, so sensitive, to lead to quadricentennial thievery? Curran's not giving up the search.
I almost feel like redoubling my efforts to find this now. I think there's some pretty good stuff in there. Maybe somebody knew what was really in there and thought this can't see the light of day. I can't let Mr. Curran get his hands on this.
For now, though, it remains unsolved. Jessica Davy-Quantick, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The Arctic Winter Games are returning to a 2-year schedule, and they will happen in 2028. The Games International Committee made the announcement today. In December, the organization announced it would host the AWG every 3 years instead of 2, in part because the NWT pulled out of hosting the 2028 Games. When that happened, leaders from Fairbanks, Alaska, put forward a bid to host the Games in 2028. After several months of consultations, the Arctic Winter Games International Committee decided to go ahead with the 2028 Games in Fairbanks, Alaska. It said the community is experienced and ready to host. Fairbanks has previously hosted the Arctic Winter Games in 1982, 1988, and 2014. A new initiative aimed at making sports more accessible to kids is starting to make an impact across Canada. Self-serve equipment lockers are popping up in some city parks. Shehan Desjardins explains.
So now you're going to rate it. Kitchener, Ontario Mayor Barry Verbanovic hopes this simple locker makes playing sports a little easier. It's kind of like a vending machine, only free, using an app to get in.
For many families, the cost of sporting equipment can be a barrier to participation.
The initiative is a partnership with Canadian Tire's Jumpstart Charities that aims to give kids better access to sports, and it's growing. The city now has 30 of these lockers. Most are near parks, and early data shows they've been opened more than 800 times before the official launch took place.
It was really fun to play with. Yeah, I think it was really cool.
Across the country, hundreds are sprinkled in British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario.
If there wasn't a need, we wouldn't see the astronomical numbers that we're seeing, like literally hundreds of thousands of hours of sport participation because this equipment is now available for free in communities from coast to coast to coast.
And Canada's Secretary of State for Sport, a big fan.
It's having a tremendous impact. While we're all standing here in this facility.
The federal government just this week announcing millions for sports initiatives too, from upgrading facilities like the Olympic Oval in Calgary to helping build community soccer pitches across the country.
It's not just a moment. This is a new normal, and it's a pivot point for sport in Canada.
But even if initiatives like these simple lockers don't lead to medals down the road,
it creates opportunities that weren't there that are important for youth at this time.
And this father-son duo at this park in Brampton are happy with just that after trying out the lockers for the first time.
It's a good idea. I like it. We might probably be using it, yeah.
Other areas have different equipment, and the plan is to keep expanding. Sheehan Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
While Canadian lawmakers debate a proposed law restricting social media use for children under 16, some are exploring other ways to help kids reduce time spent online. A 21-year-old has developed an app that prevents so-called doom scrolling. Alexander Silberman has more.
You can add some friends.
A new social media app designed to limit social media to small doses. There's no algorithm, no advertising, even messages encouraging users to disconnect.
So you've seen it all, the rest is offline.
Alexis Bossé created the app Livio. The 21-year-old wanted a way to connect with friends, but not be glued to his phone.
I could reach 6 to 8 hours a day.
Why replace social media with another app?
Social media that we are using right now aren't social anymore. I'm trying to keep the social part that we used to like.
A possible solution as mental health advocates continue to draw attention to the harms of social media. A Canadian survey found young people who report 7+ hours of screen time are significantly more likely to experience severe anxiety, depression, and psychological distress.
What we do know is that what we are doing right now doesn't seem to be working.
The push to curb social media use is now before Parliament. Bill C-34 would ban children under 16 from opening accounts. Researchers say apps like Livio could help people effectively decrease their time on screens.
People tend to say that they spend more time on it than they would like.
This teen content creator understands the motivation, but is advocating for a different approach. Better protect young people by teaching them about the harms of doom scrolling, rather than an overall ban.
Setting young people up with the resources that they need to go into the online world more informed.
I'm Ainara.
Ainara Allen promotes diversity in children's books on social media. The 17-year-old found a large audience for her work on Instagram, leading to speaking gigs, a TV show, and awards.
Social media is a place where so many young people have the space to express themselves.
A powerful tool with a growing debate over its limits. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Montreal.
The 17th biennial Moosehide Gathering has wrapped up in the Yukon. The Trondequetchin First Nation hosted the 4-day cultural celebration at Moosehide Village near Dawson City. Organizers say the 2026 edition brought in well over 1,000 people. Here's a look at the closing ceremony on Sunday.
Our flag song represents our landmarks. And our biggest landmark is Eva Dave Chan, the Moosehide Slide. Once you see that, you know you're home. Once our visitors see that, they know they're closer to visiting Dawson Moosehide people. So I want to say, Drin Nechwe Huzu, may the day be good to all of you. Honzon Fleka Trinocha, take good care of each other. And when we sing for our flag song, if you have a Trondequetchin flag in your hand, you hold it up high. You hold all your hankies up high, but you make sure that Trondequetchin flag, you hold it high and proud.
People traveled from all over the Yukon and beyond for the Moosehide Gathering. Many took the highway there, but some people decided to take a different, much slower way. Members of the Carcross, Tagish, Nacho Dun, and Selkirk First Nations paddled canoes from their communities to Moosehide Village. They were greeted by the Trondequetchin and its Han singers when they arrived. A Nacho Dun member says the week-long trip had its ups and downs, but the challenge was worth it.
It's about preservation, it's about determination, and
sometimes in those hard moments you have no choice but to push through, and that's really what, in the end, that is, shows you have no choice but to push through, and it shows you and proves the strength that is really within that can't be brought out in everyday life.
Hummel says she was proud to share the accomplishment with her nation and happy to see everyone who greeted the paddlers. Now let's take a look at your weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.